Men walking away one. So we have a video today from Serpensa, and this video is titled "Who Are China's Nowhere Girls?" I'm going to link you to his channel description in the video. But basically, you guys know about the leftover women in China. Now there's another group emerging. The leftover women in China are women who are basically above 30, entering into their 40s, and they are seen as undesirable by mainstream China. Men do not want to marry them or have children with them. And instead, these women are finding themselves entering into uh, adulthood or midlife with no children, no prospects of marriage, and very little hope for the future in terms of entering the family unit beyond their immediate families. And a lot of these women are very delusional. They're saying things along the lines of they want a man that will give them an $800,000 dowry, so essentially $1 million dowry just to marry them. There are some who are a lot more humble than that, who are willing to accept just 80,000 US dollars as a dowry. And these men have to be 6'6". They have to be at least 6 feet tall or almost 6 feet tall. They have to, have a six pack, and they have to make above six figures. This is in China. So, a lot of these women are finding themselves getting older, they're alone, and they have no real prospects for entering the family unit. And now we have another thing taking place called the Nowhere Girls. Nowhere Girls, just to give you a bit of introduction to these women, these are actually young women who have the potential prospects of getting into relationships, but they really don't want to, and more so, they're being left behind on by society. So they're Gen Z women, Gen Z for the win again, or the L. It's more like the L. A L for them and a big L for society, because they're only creating more and more problems for society. The Nowhere Girls in China are sleeping on the streets. They're not working. Many of them are. So they're essentially neats. A lot of them are ending up being neats, not in employment, education, or training, and they are becoming destitute. They are becoming demoralized. They're falling into deep despair, and they're creating more social burdens on society. It's a really disgraceful thing. A lot of them also have, just the personality traits of these individuals are just unbelievable. And this is just just another big problem that we're seeing. The problem with Gen Z is seemingly in every country. I'm hearing problems about Gen Z in Brazil. I don't know what to say. While there are some people who've claimed, oh well, the Gen Zers here are decent, it's not. I'm not really hearing much of that anymore. In Japan, for example, Japan is experiencing significant problems with Gen Zers. Many Gen Zers don't have the skill sets of previous generations. They're not performing as well in the workforce as other generations. They're not as intelligent as other generations. They're not really applying themselves very well with the hard sciences. Many of Japan is struggling to find engineers now so badly that they are importing them from overseas. Yes, some of this has to do with populate with the decline in Japan's population, but a lot of it also has to do with a waning amount of talent in Japan. More so, you have a lot of these young Gen Zers in Japan that are going into restaurants and tampering with food. So they'll go to a restaurant and they have like the conveyor belts that will bring food around to different tables. And these young Japanese Gen Zers, they are tampering with food. They're committing crimes. I mean, it's like when you watch an anime, you see like, degenerates. Like these are the real degenerates. Many of the things that the cultural things that you've come to expect from Japanese about, not creating problems in society. There's a saying like, the nail that stands out gets hammered in. Well, these good for nothings, they want all the smoke. It's bad muffins all around, which is just unbelievable. And of course, I've known Japanese people for many years, and Japanese people can be a mixed bag. They're just like us, but they at least try to pretend. These good for nothing muffins in Japan, however, these Gen Zers, they're just bad all around. Really, really bad. And they just don't give a damn. I don't know what's going on. It's like it feels like every country right now is screeching and hollering about Gen Z. You know, I woke up and I look at my feed, and I'm looking at an anime channel, an anime, or well, it's more of a video game channel, but it's a guy who makes videos mostly centered around anime and cosplay and Final Fantasy VII. And what do I see in my feed? He's basically saying that Gen Zers literally HAT him and they're out to get him. And I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, bro? Why are you having problems with Gen Z? Like this is frightening stuff. It's like am I some there are moments when you just feel like this is not possible because it's hard to accept reality. It's hard to accept. It's like, when you play Grand Theft Auto, you're looking at Grand Theft Auto right now. There's actually this thing in Grand Theft Auto, and I swear it's real, where, for example, you're driving like a certain kind of car, and you don't really see this car very often, but now the moment that you see the car, now you start to see the car more often. And it's like you once you see it, you can't unsee it. And now everywhere I go, everything I do, it's Gen Z everywhere. They're all over the news, they're all over my feed, they're on channels, they're people are complaining about them in the video game industry, in the anime industry. People are complaining about the weatherman is complaining about them. Everyone is complaining about them. It's everywhere you look, everywhere you go outside, people are complaining about them. You go to the doctor's office, people are complaining about them. You cannot expect. Just don't listen, Angry. Don't listen to your lying ears. All right, cover your ears, Angry. Cover your eyes, cover your ears, cover your eyes, cover your ears. Like, it's like you can't deny reality more. These people are dregs of society. They're the dregs of society, and they're going to be desperate adults in 10 years. They're going to be desperate, destitute adults in 10 years, and it's going to be a nightmare when we witness just how bad they, destroy society. Let's go ahead and jump right into the video.
Who are China's nowhere girls? Just who are China's nowhere girls? Withdrawn, they think very little of themselves. Shunned by society and under constant pressure to conform. Usually unemployed or earning a pittance, their prospects are non-existent. So why bother? They've turned pessimistic, lethargic, and have given in to hopelessness and despair. China loves to come up with these little catchphrases to explain away huge swaths of people. You've heard of leftover women, of course. These are women who, even though they're about to turn 30, have the audacity to have remained single. In China, that's just unacceptable, and they're treated like garbage, deemed of little to no value to society. But suddenly, now we have another emerging group of women, the nowhere girls. These are young women in their prime who refuse to marry and have all but given up on life. Why do they exist? And why are their numbers growing so rapidly in China? Women have a rough time in China. There's a weird dynamic in Chinese society. You know, when you hear people in the West complain about misogyny, toxic masculinity, male privilege, and all that other stuff? Well, at least in the West there's some recourse. At least there are laws in place. But in China, it truly is a country of misogyny, toxic masculinity, and male privilege. I mean, just look at their government. See any women there? Nope. Other than the ones serving tea, of course. The fact that the woman who tried to raise awareness and start China's #MeToo movement was arrested and sentenced to 5 years in jail. I know there will be some people that think this is a good thing, but I assure you that it is not. A government that truly suppresses women's rights and treats them as second-class citizens is a government that truly suppresses men's rights too, and the rights of all citizens. So, let's start with job prospects. If you're one of the hundreds of millions of impoverished girls in China, you have very little chance of getting a good job. Even with an education, you're looking at low-end factory work, or if you're lucky, you can make it big as an electronics recycler in Shenzhen, or grab some very low-paying office work. These lower-paying jobs often require incredibly long hours and harsh working conditions. And at the end of the day, the money made is hardly worth the effort. If you have the option to just float along as a nowhere girl, then why not? Keep your eye out for these nowhere girls when you're in China. You often see them idling away, either in an internet cafe, on a street corner. You might catch a glimpse of them through a doorway. Women who come from lower class families, and to be honest, women in general, are not treated with the greatest amount of respect in China. They're treated as beasts of burden, as birthing machines, and as currency. Sold off for a bride price to the highest bidder at a young age and expected to instantly give birth to ensure family prospects and stability. So, as a young woman, you can start to quickly realize that pursuing your dreams or goals in life are first not financially viable, as your job prospects suck and China's economy is declining rapidly, and secondly, not socially acceptable. Since you're expected to work, but also expected to get married in your early 20s, you're expected to give birth, and worst of all, you're expected to take care of your in-laws and their often overly spoilt son.
Now, guys, I want you to think about this. This guy sounds, this sounds like simp stuff. What he's saying right here is a lot of, he starts talking about M2 and, the importance of M2 and why in China, they basically shut it down and put the woman who was pushing for M2 in prison. And it's because of misogyny and all this other. Yeah, guys, this is simp talk. His solution that he's proposing is that China needs more feminism, even though China graduates large amounts of female PhDs, has large amounts of female doctors. It has very wealthy women in China. They have all the same rights and prospects as men. But no, because they don't have a welfare state and men are not being demonized and punished enough in China. When women complain, that's the problem. Keep in mind, if you are convicted of something like SA in China, you can be Control-Alt-Deleted for it. Like this, and the women, and if you look at the leftover woman situation in China, again, these women are demanding millionaires. Like, you literally need to give them $1 million, pay $1 million in some case to marry a 40-year-old woman in China. And of course, he completely glosses over all of this, making it sound like women in China are living in some terrible third world country where they have no options. The entire world is against them. And young men are faring so much better. And essentially it's saying that women's rights are human rights. And, if men want rights, then they also need rights for women. So the rights of men are being impacted because of the rights of women, although men are the misogynists. Guys, do you see this load of nonsense? This is what happens though in China when men start to walk away and men say, you know what, I'm done with this. I'm not going to. I have alternatives, because that's what MWA is. MWA is not separatism. MWA is men with alternatives or men with attitudes, and you've got a lot of men with attitudes in China. All right, men with attitudes and men with alternatives that are not going for these women. They don't want to be in a relationship with these women. And as a result, these women do not have the greatest of prospects. And those are some of the consequences that come with the decisions that they made. You can see that that feminism is strong in China, but this guy's saying it's simply not strong enough. Let me know what you guys think regarding everything we talked about. And let's discuss it. Let's talk about it more in the comments. Like the video if you like it. Don't forget to subscribe. And if you like the video, share the video. And just remember that all roads lead to MWA, men walking away. And cheers.